Welcome back, my beautiful people. In this video, I'm going to give you 10 tried and true strategies to help you maximize your earnings with your short-term rental. Whether you're brand new to the short-term rental game or you're an experienced host, these tips are going to help you reach or get to the next level with your short-term rental property. Let's start with tip number 1. I think the next 1, 2, and 3 are going to be something that you probably already heard, but maybe not in the manner that I'm going to present it. Tip number 1 is optimizing your listing for higher visibility. Now, we all know that we should focus on having an optimized listing by making sure that we have keywords in our descriptions, make sure that when your listing is set up that it's easy to read, right? Something that's going to have bullet points so that the viewer immediately can see what they're looking for, like the amenities, etc. I'm specifically referring to your pictures. Again, we all know that we should have professional pictures, but how should those pictures be presented? And that's what I mean by optimizing your listing for higher visibility, because here's what my recommendation is. Most people don't create an experience with their pictures. If you're taking a picture, for example, if you have a pool, if you have an outdoor kitchen, you have a beautiful living room, if you have a nice dining table, whatever you have, you should put people in that picture and you should create an experience with that picture so that the viewer can see it, immediately recognize what the experience you're trying to portray is, and then put themselves in that position. So, for example, going back to the pool, if you have someone lounging on the pool with a cocktail drink on there, that viewer, the person viewing that picture, can immediately put themselves in that position, and it's definitely going to help you increase your occupancy rate. So really play around with that. Like I said, I would bet that more than 95% of all short-term rental operators don't put people in their pictures. You should start to do that and create that experience. I want to emphasize again, a very important aspect of pictures is that that picture should accurately depict what you're trying to show. Don't create pictures that when the guest there is completely different than what they're going to receive when they get there, because that's really going to hurt you and not help you. Tip number 2 is pricing strategies. Now, we all have heard, especially if you've been around for a while, that you should have some type of dynamic pricing tools for your listing. Here's where I'm going to not differ, but here's what's really important about your dynamic pricing tools. If you're using them, if you're not, you should. But if you're using them, don't be that guy to set it and forget it. Even dynamic pricing tools are not perfect. You still need to go in there and make adjustments here and there. I'm going to give you some personal experiences that I have, and one just recently. So for example, the Miami Heat just made it to the finals. I know that the demand for short-term rentals are going to be high in the Miami area because of the game. You're going to get people from Denver wanting to come to Miami to watch that game. As a result, there's going to be a spike in demand during those period of times. Now, there's other events that come up, but when it's a one-off like the Heat, your dynamic pricing tools may not pick that up fast enough for you to take benefit from it. So for example, the system may pick up the increase in demand, but it may be too late. So for us, the moment the Heat qualified, meaning when it looked like they were going to make the the NBA Finals, we immediately adjusted our pricing around those time frames when the games are going to be played. Now, we did that before they won. If they wouldn't have won, very easy adjustment to go back, but it's something that you need to be proactive in. Understand that even if you have a dynamic pricing tool, you still need to be proactive, people. Tip number 3, big one for me, is enhancing the guest experience. Guest experience starts even before they come to your property. It really starts from the moment they send you an inquiry. Do not wait hours on end before you respond to an inquiry. You need to be very proactive. It really can make a difference between receiving a 5-star rating to a 3-star rating. And I'm going to go into that very quickly, again, giving you personal experience. If you've been following my Instagram, you know that for the past month, I've been in Europe. And when I travel, I stay in Airbnbs. I can tell you definitively, me personally, when I send an inquiry to an Airbnb, if they don't respond back within 10 minutes, I'm moving on to the next property. Then, once I book the property, even if the property isn't a 5-star property, And if that host communicated well, made it easy for me or responded quickly, made it easy for me to get to the property, answered my questions that I needed answers to when I got there, I can tell you that I still gave that person a 5-star rating, even if their property wasn't a 5-star property, because it made me feel comfortable. You need to do the same. You need to make your guests feel comfortable when they come to your property. You need to give them confidence that they made the right decision when they booked your property. In addition to that, you can always add personal touches to your property. Again, for example, if you stay in one of our homes, you're always going to get a bottle of wine. We set up 2 glasses as a gift from us to you. There's other things that you can add within there. Make sure your decor is good. But I've done so many videos on that. I'm not going to touch into that. But the key to giving your guest experience is really going to be 100% dependent on you before they booked and during their stay and then after their stay. Tip number 4 is that positive review and trying to obtain superhost status. Again, if you follow my channel, then you know that I am not a big fan, or I don't firmly believe the superhost status makes a big difference in your earnings. It does make a difference for an initial boost in terms of bookings, but what's really more important is having positive reviews. What you really need to do, like I mentioned, if you provide an enhanced guest experience, regardless of what type of property you have, or regardless of your shortcomings within your properties, you can still most likely get a 5-star rating. Now, I'm going to give you a tip on how to enhance or increase your chances on doing that. And that is by, again, we discussed, you want to communicate before, you want to communicate during, and you want to communicate after they have checked out. Now, what we like to do is once they check out, we like to send an email or a message thanking the guest for staying in our property, letting them know that we're going to give them a 5-star review and that we hope we earn the same. Now, that does 2 things. Number 1, lets the guests know that they're still front of mind, and it triggers something in their brain when they know that you're going to write them a 5-star or give them a 5-star review. It makes them feel guilty if we're thinking about giving you a lesser review. Just psychological. We've tested it out. It's been, for us, it's worked very well. Something I highly recommend you do that. Tip number 5. Now, this one's big for me because I really think, now I have it as number 5, but in reality, it could be number 1. And that is utilizing your social media and taking advantage of influencers to market your property. People, we're in 2023. If your property is not on social media, I don't know what to say. You need to have a social media presence. I am going to give you a couple of examples as to how important social media is, and if you use it, how it could greatly benefit you and increase your revenues on your short-term rentals. The first thing I'm going to talk about is, like I mentioned, I've been in Europe, is my entire trip in Europe. I use nothing but TikTok and Instagram to plan out my trip, meaning what restaurants I was going to go to, what Airbnbs I was going to stay in, what sites I was going to visit. I use the entire thing. And I'm not the only one, people. If you're not aware, TikTok, and I believe Instagram is on the same boat, but I'm pretty positive TikTok has become the number 2 search engine next to Google and on the internet. So you need to have a social media presence. So make sure that your properties or properties are on social media, that you use social media to promote them, use them as guides, your neighborhoods, your area. Do what you can to get on social media and promote your properties. The other thing is using other influencers to help you promote. I'm going to give you an example that we did as well. I have a very nice property in Miami. It's a higher end property. It's a luxury property. If you follow the channel, you know that for me, luxury properties are not where the money is at. You really have to promote them more because they're a higher price point. There's not that many people, or not that many people can afford paying $1,000, $2,000, $3,000 a night versus someone that can pay $200 or $300 a night for a place, right? But so I teamed up and collaborated with Links in the City, which is some 2 social media influencers from Atlanta, and we did a video and we promoted this particular property. Within 24 hours, I had over 1,500 new followers on my Instagram. I know at a minimum, we got 3 reservations for that property. Ooh, it's about to come down. It's gonna rain. But it was a big success. We plan to do more of that because of how successful we were using influencers. So I highly recommend that you reach out to influencers especially if you have a nice property. Reach out. There's a bunch of travel people that you can reach out to and tell them, hey, give them a free night stay. In return, you can collaborate and do a video together. It's a great way to add more eyeballs to your property, great way to promote your property and get your name out there. Really, really focus on that. Tip number 6 is going to be cross promotion. What I mean by that is teaming up with other businesses. There's a lot of benefits to that, but going back to the social media side, if you team up with businesses that have a high social media presence, and again, that can add more eyeballs to your property. In addition, it can be an additional revenue source that I'm going to talk about add-ons, but it can be an additional revenue source because if you are a very good negotiator, you can probably negotiate a referral fee for that business, meaning if you sent people their way, they'll give you a referral fee to do that. In addition, as we talked about enhancing the guest experience, I firmly believe that when you recommend people to businesses that you know and trust, and they treat your guests well, it's going to greatly increase your guest experience, which in turn is going to give you more 5-star reviews, better guest experience, which is going to put more money in your pocket. Tip number 7 is expanding your target market. You got to be very careful with this because if you probably are aware of what happened and what is currently happening to companies that have gone woke, like Bud Light, who forgot who their avatar is. And let me touch on that. Very important. I did a video on this, so I'm not going to expand it too much, but you really need to understand who your customer is. In our industry, we refer to as who is your avatar? Who is your ideal customer? By knowing who your avatar is, you can easily market to your avatar. But so what I mean by expanding your target market is within your avatar, there should be subcategories you can explore. So for example, you heard me said this before. Again, if you follow me, you know I'm very big with the nomad community. If you're in an area where you can attract more nomads or digital nomads or remote workers, then target them. That's going to expand your target market. Something more simple to that is pet owners. If you're a pet-friendly property, which I hope you are, because if you follow my channel, that's a big pet peeve of mine, then target pet owners, right? Feature things within your property or amenities within your property that are pet-friendly. Number 8 is going to be optimize your property for longer stays. If you are not doing that already, you should. And be prepared or set up your properties so that people can come and book your property for longer stays. In the past, I wasn't a big fan of long stays, but I am today, and it's much needed today. So, but you need to make sure that your property is set up for that, because many of you, if you're like me anyways, if you're like me, my properties initially were not set up for very long stays. They were only set up for, the average 3-4 night stays, week stays, at best maybe 3 weeks, but I never had my property set up for 30 days or more. Make sure your property's set up for that. And the biggest thing with longer stays is making sure that your kitchen is properly supplied for people that are going to stay there, because if they're going to stay or they're going to have a long stay, they're going to cut and they need the tools to do so. So make sure that's set up. Number 9 is going to be implementing add value services like transportation, guides, hooking up with chefs and providing that service, babysitters, again, teaming up with bike rentals, car rentals, boat rentals. All those are add value services that you can add to your listing and create an additional revenue source. Number 10, and this is another big one for me. I never stop doing this. You should never stop doing this. The fact that you're watching this video, and if you stayed here to number 10, then I know this applies to you, and that is making sure that you are constantly learning and researching your market. I never stop learning. I'm always reading books on short-term rentals, on hospitality, on business. I'm always going to conventions. I'm always networking. Hire a coach, hire a mentor. The point is never stop learning and never stop doing market research for your area. The rain is coming, my beautiful people, but that was the end. If you got value of this, please hit the like button. Subscribe if you haven't subscribed. If you want to donate, buy me a coffee. I love you guys, and I'll see you in the next one.